Welcome back. Welcome to Nothing But Nets. It's good to be back. I'm joined here with LBL for life. We're going to talk about Brandon Ingram. Apparently, Brandon Ingram didn't show up to a voluntary mini camp, which may or may not be a sign that he wants to be traded. We're going to get
Uh-oh.
into. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I said uh-oh.
Uh, um,
Shades of Ben Simmons.
Potentially. Well, let me LB introduce yourself to everyone where they can find you, and then just kind of give me your thoughts on Brandon Ingram as a player first.
All right. Well, mostly either on I'm on X as LBL for Life one. I'm usually just really following some fellow net fans posts, and I follow your podcast, and I follow a few others, and really I've been a Nets fan for a long time, going back to Foots Walker days, so
All right, so you're going back to the Jersey days, deep in the Jersey days too.
yeah, so yeah, but even Long Island, because even way back then I was a Knicks fan, and I like the Knicks and New York Nets. So, and then when they moved to Jersey, I was a big Buck Williams fan, all of them. So I followed all of that, and I just listened to your last podcast, the one you just uploaded, and when you were saying, well, when was the last time the Nets had a real shot outside of Durant and Kyrie? And I believe you and Nate were saying probably Vince Carter, but I
Yeah, well,
contend.
yeah. I mean, we talking about the Pierce and KG team. I mean, I don't know what you
No,
thought
that,
of
that
that
I
team.
wouldn't call
Yeah,
that a contender, because if they were already faded on Boston, there was no way we were gonna help them, even if we had a peak
they had
Darren Williams and
Joe
younger
Johnson and
and
Brooke got hurt for that season, if you
and,
remember.
and Brooke,
Yeah.
yeah. I just, like I wished it as a Nets fan, but in reality, you could see we weren't there, And then the same thing I would say with the Vince Carter ones. I feel like once we got rid of Kenyon and Kerry, that went our window. So I thought, and this is what alarms me about when you bring up an actual scoring star like Brandon Ingram, or someone brings up Jimmy Butler. It's like I feel like Vince Carter served as a box office pacifier. Like, they knew we weren't gonna win with Vince Carter and Kidd, even though we still had Jefferson, but we knew we weren't gonna win with them. But it was exciting just to watch them run. But so, and that's what I feel like. Why I keep circling back to asking Gary, what do you want? Do you just want to go to a majority of games, or do you want to just see a majority of games where we win more games than we lose? Because, or do you really want a chip? So I mean, for me, I really want sustainability. I want to watch a young team grow into something, and I want to see them, be a contender for 5 to 10 years. I don't want a short window of, yeah, well, let's try to see if we can get this guy, maybe get that guy, and turn it into a chip.
No, I fully appreciate that, right? And I'm gonna give you. I've been a Net fan since 91, 92 when they got Kenny Anderson. That's really when I became a Nets fan. So I go
Great.
back 30 years. I'm also a Mets fan and a Jets fan, right?
Hmm.
So I've been rooting for these teams for 30 years, all three of them, 30 years plus.
Okay.
Never once seen a championship. So yeah, I want to see a championship. Like before my time on this earth is up, I
Mhm.
want to see one of my teams win. Right. I and the Nets are by far my favorite team. So yeah, I want to see the Nets win a championship. And I understand your point, right? Like if we get Bi, oh, like I won't mention the other name that I did the other show on, but we won't talk about. But if we got a guy like that, yeah, you might become a playoff team. You might be able to even become a 5 seed or a 4 seed and get to the second round. But you're not really a championship contender, and I don't disagree with that. But here's what I was trying to ask Nate: if I have a guy like Brandon Ingram, does that get me closer to in 2026 signing a guy like Embiid?
Okay, and I did hear that, and I definitely agreed with Nate where I thought it would push you
Okay.
farther away. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Embiid is already 31, right?
I think right now, let me look. I think right now he's 30, so he'd be 32. Yeah,
And he'll
he's 30. He's 30.
and okay, and he'll be an older 32
He's
if
been
he
banged
plays
up.
more games. If he
Yeah,
plays more games, especially if he wants to play, say the 65 required to get on, on
MVP
those.
or NBA team, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he'll probably be more beat up, and I just don't. And he's got some great backups. He does have some good supporting guys, so he doesn't have to play as much. But they'd have to be so good, that he really could, take it easy himself. But I don't feel like his game, and plus, even did he look like he was in shape to you in the Olympics? Because he didn't to me.
No, it wasn't a great sign. I'm surprised he played coming off the injury. Look, he played fantastic in the Knicks year. He's averaged like 35 points a game, but he did not look like he was in great shape. It looked like he was sitting on the couch those 2 months in between the playoffs.
Yes,
And yeah,
and that kind of worries me because it's a short turnaround from those Olympics to coming in, especially a guy like his weight and his height and everything. So for him, I don't think it was I understand what it was. It was definitely a legacy thing and a profile thing, and a way to sell his name internationally as an Olympic gold medalist and everything. But basketball, purely NBA basketball wise, it probably wasn't the best thing for him to do, join this team.
yeah. Now imagine if he gets hurt late in the season and he could have
Yeah.
been resting. Yeah, a good thing
So
I'm not a Sixers fan because that, that could be
yeah, yeah,
problematic.
yeah. So but with that said, now you're talking about 2 years from then. And then you're also talking about what the hell is he going to be another guy that suppose he does play well over these next 2 years? Is he going to be another guy that we're going to have to pay upwards of near $60 million?
Yes, I can already answer that. Yes, it's
So
Joel
that's what
Embiid.
I'm
He's one of the
saying.
best
Is
players
that
in the league.
really, even though we'll have the rookie guys who will be like in their, third years or whatever, their second and third years, and then Clowney won't be there yet, you know, but really, do we really want to pay that for him at that stage? I don't think so. I mean, to me, I don't think so. I'd rather have a guy that maybe less accomplished, not as good, but healthier and a smaller contract. And that's what I was saying. That's why I was agreeing with Nate about Brandon as well, because he's already made some money. So, he's going to probably be looking to make about 45 or so. And I just feel like that's just too much money. I feel like that's too much money for him, for what he is, one-dimensional player.
I get that, and I guess I don't disagree with you that he's largely a one-dimensional player. I just look at Brandon Ingram, and I've always like every offseason I say, is there anything the Nets can do to get Brandon Ingram? Like I always want Brandon.
Mhm.
Like
At
I
one time, I wanted him too. So I'm not gonna say, but this past postseason, and then I guess even when what's his name went down, when
when
Williamson went
Zion,
down,
yeah.
it's like, all right, it's basically your team. It's your time to really show out, and I didn't really see that from him.
No, the postseason for sure, he was terrible. I mean, whatever you think of Ingram, if you think he's better than advertised like I do, or even if you think he's overrated like other people do, that postseason was not good. He did not help himself out in that postseason if he wants a huge contract because it was his team. If they would have lost to OKC, a much better team, and he would have averaged 30 a game, it would have been like, it happens, right? Like they were just
Yeah,
outman. But he
yeah.
was horrible in that series. He was absolutely terrible. And he,
And you know what? When you really think about because I really watched those games, and when we really think about, it's like psychologically he was beaten as well. He was physically beaten and psychologically beaten, because it's like, man, I'm not getting these calls. They're roughing me up and everything. And it kind of reminded me of, because I follow a lot of the Gil stuff, a lot of the Gil's Arena stuff, and it kind of reminded me of, I wanted to say, is this your king? Are these the guys that are so much better than the guys in the 90s and in the 2000s? Because, as soon as Lou Dort started playing him tough and like, and really getting in him, it's like, man, he's not responding.
It's not what you wanted to see, especially from a guy that you want to be a star. You want him to be an all-star player. I agree with that. It was not what you wanted to see. I see the skill, the size, the length. The offensive game is complete to me, and like I want that guy. And so, like, here's my question. And Nate was like, "Well, if you get him, then you're a playing team." Well, then, let me pose the question like this: if you think you're a 20-win team without him, and then you add him, and now you're a 35 or a 37-win team, you're telling me he's a pretty damn good player, because he accounted for 15 to 17 wins by himself. So to me, that's a very valuable guy, right? So let's say you get him, and Nate's right. They become a 35-win team, and they miss out on Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
Or Dylan Harper. If you draft Cooper Flagg, and he turns out to be as good as Brandon Ingram, are you happy with that?
I saw that question at the end, and I understood what he said, because what you're talking about is, you're talking about a guy on a rookie deal that's producing like Brandon Ingram, and remember, he'll only be 20 years old. I mean, he's 17 now, right? So
yeah,
he'll only be 20 years old. So it's like, that's a way better bargain than paying a guy entering his late 20s, 45 million or whatever, and he's multi-dimensional.
I agree, right? So we're told, right? And Cooper Flagg is told that he's a great defensive player, that he's Andre Kirilenko.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the high school level, right? That's a far cry from the NBA level. But look, I'm assuming he's going to be good. What I'm saying is, you hope, and I understand the contract, right? Like, if you draft Cooper Flagg, then you can still go sign another All-Star, right? I get it. To me, Ingram is a type of talent that you can build a championship team around. Like, he's your number 2. He's your Jaylen Brown. Now, go get a Jason Tatum kind of thing, right? He's your Kyrie. Go get a Luka. Like, he's the second piece that you need, but you need to have him. Okay. I don't know if you view him like that. A lot of people don't.
I really don't. I guess when, like when he came out of, Duke and everything, and I saw how he was and everything, I'm like, wow, this guy's really talented and everything offensively. But I think now I don't view him the same way. And there are quite a few guys that I don't view the same way, because I feel like in the NBA, there's regular season guys and there's postseason guys.
I 100% agree with that.
And I don't mean
Julius
just
Randle
like
across the
and I don't
bridge,
mean like just the and see, I mean, usually when we're talking about that, we're talking about guys like JJ Redick and Joe Harris, who are allowed to get their open looks and everything, and knock them down, but then they're more harassed when better teams have more athletic guys. But I don't mean just that. I mean also like a guy who's not a scorer like that, a guy like Ingram, who's tremendously more talented, but now when they let them play, is he still a three-way scorer when they let them play? And it's like, well, you're not really showing me that, so I think, that's a different thing. And I think it's really like, that's why I would say someone like Jaylen Brown is really underrated, because the reason that because I always thought, like I said, and this is prior to this season, I said, to me, I was kind of skeptical um about Tatum more than Brown, because it seemed like Brown loved the physicality, and
Yeah.
Tatum really didn't. And then in the past, when Tatum's shot wasn't falling, he didn't really figure out, well, what do I need to do to still help the team win? He's gotten better at it with his passing, or he's gotten better at it, like, okay, I guess I'll rebound or something. But he used to be a guy like, he'd be in a funk, if his shot isn't falling. But meanwhile, Brown is like doing everything. I'm guarding the best player. I'm playmaking. I'm dunking on people. So I think that makes him really underrated. Whereas we tend to look at scoring, but a lot of times I think that we don't realize that teams allow certain players to score during the season, and they don't really show their hand, like, what we're going to take away from you once we play you. Like, if they feel like say the 76ers feel like they're playing the Pelicans, it's like, we're going to let Brandon Ingram score 30, but we're still going to beat them by 5, right? But now, if we had to play them in the playoffs, and I know they're in different conferences, but if they had to play them in the playoffs, it's like, we're gonna take all of these things away that we let him have, and then
Yeah.
teams aren't ready for that. You know what I mean? So I think it's a big difference with that, and that's what I'm really looking at Brandon Ingram, right? Like, can you be that? Because it's one thing, and that's what I keep coming back to, like, where I have to see these guys play this year, like, not just Cooper, but also Ace and Dylan and everyone else, because I want that kind of guy that when everybody in the arena knows he's getting the ball, everybody on the opposing team knows, well, we got to stop this guy, and he can still score. That's a special talent. And I'm not sure if there are that many. There are only like a handful of guys like that.
For sure. And I wouldn't put him there, but that's what I'm saying. He's the secondary piece. The problem is getting the primary piece. So here's the trade, and I just want your thoughts. And
Go
you
ahead.
just put your Sean Marks hat on, and this is what a question I posted. I came up with a trade. The contracts work. They almost match perfectly. It would be Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, and Day'Ron Sharpe for Brandon Ingram.
Oh,
Is that a trade they would entertain? And if you were Sean Marks, would you make? I'm guessing you're going to say no. You don't want that.
I'm gonna say no, because when you look at those guys outside of Cam Johnson, who has this year and 2 more years, it's like, so what are we? So I would ask you, what are we committing to? Because Day'Ron will be a free agent, right? Like a RFA, right?
Yes.
The other guy has an option, right?
He's got a
DFS.
nice option. I
Yeah,
think he'll pick up the
DFS.
$15 million option.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he probably looking around and seeing, wow, there's nobody just gonna really hand me 15 million anywhere
Yeah.
unless I have a great postseason or something, right? So, and so that's what I'm saying. When I'm looking at that, are you ready, really ready? And he's, he is twice, to me, he is twice as good, at least twice as good as Cam Johnson, the same Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
But are you really saying that you're gonna want to commit, because to him for like whatever it was? I think it was a 4 or 5 year deal for 200 million. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I get it. And everyone tells me I'm crazy. I don't know. I just like Brandon Ingram that much. I don't know what it is.
It's not, and it's not him, it's the market. It's not just him, it's the market that's saying he's not worth it. You know what I mean? Because he's got to give you more.
Let me ask you this: if same deal to De'Aaron Fox, would you give Fox that money?
Definitely.
See,
Definitely.
we
I
just
saw.
okay.
I saw
I
what you were
get.
saying.
I'd rather have. I know that's gonna sound crazy. I'd rather have Ingram, right? And people are like, why do you value Ingram so much? And I kind of don't know why. I just look at him, right, and it's like that girl that always breaks your heart. It's like, bro, just move on. Just move on. She's not worth it. Like, no, she
All right.
is.
So let me give you some reasons to like Fox better. His position is more important, right? Running the team.
I don't consider him. Yeah, he's a point guard, but he's not a pass first point guard to me. He's a two guard in a point guard's body to me. But
You know what he is, and you do know, you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And he is from that Houston area, right? So
yeah.
But he's not a pass first point guard, but he's a situational point guard. And so like when plays come up, he'll decide. It's not like he can't run the team like, okay, we need to make sure we get a good basket, so I'm just going to come down and shoot a three. So he's not like that kind of point guard like say Russell Westbrook was, but he is a situational point guard. But I understand what you're saying. He's not a pass first point guard, so he might only end up with 7 assists instead of like 9 or 10 or so, right? But he also is a two-way player. He definitely plays defense, and he has leadership skills. He really is a guy that he's not afraid to take the last shot, and he's not afraid to okay, if you want me to guard this guy, and because back then I was wondering, like after I first saw Halliburton, I was like, well, gosh, why are they giving up Halliburton? Why didn't they just keep both of them and whatever? But I kind of see some chinks in Halliburton's game that makes me say, oh, okay, I know now. I see why they stuck with Fox. And I don't think it was all just he's already the established name. I thought maybe that Fox is the better player, and I think he will always be the better player, even though Halliburton passes more.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I wanted you to address this comment, and I think this is a fair criticism. I kept calling him the number 2 star. He is the number 2 star on the Pelicans, and the Pelicans don't want it, right? Pelican fans complain about how the team is built around Ingram, and that creates a problem for Brandon Ingram. Kind of the scenario where I'm laying out where he's the second star. He is already kind of in that situation with Zion. Now, they're not really healthy much together, but is that indicative of what he is? Like, I mean, him not being able to really build a winner, a consistent winner with New Orleans, does that show you that he's kind of not the player that perhaps I think he is?
I think what would disagree with your thoughts on him are that at particular points of the game, especially like in playoff games, I can see a case where people will say, not Zion, like let's say Zion is still hurt, not Zion, but they will say that those other two forwards are better players than Ingram. What's the one that does all the defense?
Herb Jones?
Herb Jones, yes.
I like Herb Jones a lot.
He's not as talented.
I talked to Keldon Johnson on the Spurs.
And what's the other guy? Is it Trey?
Trey Murphy, the shooter?
Yeah. It's
Trey
like
Murphy.
So neither one of them have Ingram's talent, but if you really could, you would transfer. Well, gosh, if they had Ingram's talent, it'd be absolute stars, because they kind of play harder more consistently, and they play smarter more consistently, and they go out and they try to D up their man more. And that's what I'm saying. I think that's probably what frustrates them with Ingram, is that, it doesn't, we all know defense. Yeah, there are some guys that are talented defensively, but really it's about the effort that you're going to put into it.
No, I agree. And I watch a lot of the Pelicans because I'm an Ingram stan and Zion's my favorite player in the league to watch, right? So I've just watched a lot of the Pelicans over the last couple of years. The same way we criticize Cam Thomas's defense as Brooklyn's bad, right? Ingram's defense, his effort has gotten better, right? And it's trans. I'm not saying he's, the new wing defender, right? His effort has gotten better. He has natural length that you can't teach. I don't think, because when he came up, he was considered a problem. Like he was a defensive liability. I really don't view him much like that. I'm not saying he's a stopper, right? But I think he's an adequate defensive player at this point, and he can use his size and his length, and he can guard his position, right? So I don't think he's a liability defensively. He's not Herb Jones, right? Like he's not one of those guys.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, because this is what I think, I was high on Ingram coming out of college, right? But I would say that I am, but I have to ask you this. Are you disappointed with his progression of offense?
Yeah, a little bit. A little when he came in the league, even when he was with the Lakers, like, ooh, this guy's kind of nice. And then he had
can't wait till he gets older, right?
Yeah, and then it looked like he was flashing that one year with the Pelicans where he was an all-star, where it's like him and Zion, like, they're gonna win a championship here. He hasn't gotten any better. I agree with that. And that's what I was talking to Nate about. Even if he gets no better, like even if this is it, this is his plateau. Like he's plateaued. That's it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is him for the next 5 years, and then he gets worse every year in his mid-30s. I still take him. Like I still think he gives you enough offensively where he can be that secondary dude. Right. So yeah, he didn't turn into that. He didn't turn into Kevin Durant, which like, like, he has that kind of ability. No, he never turned into that. But he's still a really, really, really good player.
See, I couldn't see him as, like when I saw him and I thought the same thing as you. Well, wow, I can't wait till he gets closer to what, Durant was. But when he didn't, really get that much better offensively, it's like, well, what's going on? What's going on? What are you doing? Because, like, I don't know. It's like maybe, maybe he's that type of guy that, like Durant, where he just can't put on pounds. But I mean, it's like, come on, if you're penetrating and going to the middle and you're doing everything, if you're trying a little bit and guys are pushing you around and stuff, then you got to get stronger. What have you done in the last, 3 years or so to make your game stronger? Now, I understand you said, well, he puts more effort in the defense, but does he really put that much more effort into his offense?
I wanted to ask you that, right? Do you think there's a discipline, a motivation issue with Ingram? Like, it doesn't seem like.
Well, for a guy that's surly, because he definitely feels like he's underappreciated, right? I mean, and I don't mean just that they didn't give him the deal yet. He actually has said that publicly, right? Like, yeah, guys, they don't think that I'm this and that and everything, so he definitely has been, and it's like, man, just shut up and play and go and let's see. I don't mean shut up and play like the,
Yeah, I get you. I get
you. But I mean, just show it, man. Just show it, man. Just show it. And I don't know if I don't think that he has. And so, like, there are certain times, because I'm a Pelicans guy. Like, usually, like, when they're playing in the playoffs, I want them to win. I want them to do well. So I'm disappointed. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh shit, man, put Herb back in the game. Oh man, put Trey Murphy in, man, because at least and that's what I'm saying. It's almost like, and I think the coach has lost that kind of confidence in him too. Like, it's like, come on, we don't need you to turn the ball over at this point. We need you to, or we don't need you to, we really need you to toughen up and don't worry about not getting the calls. Let's just go, And I think that, the other guys know that they're not going to get it. And they know that it's almost like the other guys play harder because they know they have to, right? Because they don't have the talent. But it's like, well, you have the talent. Why aren't you just playing as hard as them at least,
No, I don't disagree with you. You make a lot of fair points. So the trade that I discussed with you real quick, do you think that's a trade that New Orleans would entertain, or would they turn that trade down as well?
I don't think I don't I don't think they would take that because they might need the size and Dayron, but he's not. I think because they did lose their center, right?
Valanciunas, yeah,
Yeah,
Valanciunas.
but I don't think the other two guys they would take because they'd probably find well we really don't have unless they're gonna use like DFS as like a 5 out guy. I don't really see the value in them taking those guys because Trey Murphy right now is a better player than Cam Johnson, don't you think?
Probably, yeah. It's depth. I would say
He's
DFS.
not as
I'm a
established.
DFS fan. I would say DFS is probably better than both of them. But yeah, I mean Trey Murphy, Herb Jones for sure. I think Herb
No,
Jones.
well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. That was my next point. I was gonna say, well, uh, to me, Trey Murphy is better than Cam Johnson, and then Herb Jones is better than DFS. Like like DFS is more versatile because he's bigger, right? But I mean, they're not gonna. I don't. I think, and because they do have such a problem scoring, they definitely they really need Ingram, but I think Ingram's just overpriced himself. That's what it is. Because they need scoring. At times they do need scoring. Like Willie Green is like, where's the scoring gonna come from? And then he designs these plays for Murphy to get threes or something. And because Alvarado can't really score. And then who else is in there? I like that. Don't they have do they have the Hawkins kid?
Jordan Hawkins. Yeah, they got Jordan Hawkins
I
right
see
now.
him. I see him playing more. I see him playing more because he could score.
Right now, I would imagine their starting line would be DeJounte Murray at the point, CJ at the 2, Ingram. If he shows up at the 3, Zion at the 4, and I don't
Yeah.
know who their starting center is at this point. Do you put Zion like kind of as a point center? I don't really know what you do there, and then start either Murphy or Jones or something like that. You
So to
could do
answer
that.
your question, I don't think they can afford to lose Ingram's offense. I don't think that they could afford to lose. They don't want to pay him that max money, of course, but they don't. I don't think that they could afford to get those. I don't think Cam Johnson brings enough offense.
Offense, right? They need something more than Cam Johnson. It's like so. Yeah, because now you're really down to 2 shot creators, right? Because
Yeah. And then
Herb
what's the
Jones
name
and
gets hurt so often, CJ.
Zion.
And and
Both of them.
CJ
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah,
So
both of them. So they would need to bring in another offensive player, but like if they can't trade Ingram,
yeah.
they're going to lose him outright, right? Because you just said they don't want to
Yeah.
pay him. This is the last year on his deal. They're going to lose him outright.
Don't you think that there might be like this is the thing. That's what I heard Nate talk about some of these uh mid-level guys, like the guys that aren't like the supermax guys,
Right.
and then a lot of these guys I think are going to start feeling that pinch where they're going to start getting squeezed out because they can't afford to give these Anunoby deals and these Scotty Barnes deals to every freaking person that's
Yeah, you're seeing like the middle class of the NBA shrink, right? You're seeing $40
yeah
million deals for OG and
yeah.
veteran minimums for Tyus Jones. You're like, wow, is there that big of a difference?
And
Right?
there's
Like,
no way the Knicks would have given Anunoby that deal if they didn't have the success that they had. Like in
they
a
got
regular year, they're not gonna. They just think, oh, we can't afford to lose them right now.
they got fortunate. They got Bridges on a good deal, and they
Yeah.
got Brunson to agree to take a pay cut.
And
Which
those
is
up and
interesting.
the other Villanova guys are pretty
Hart's on a good
productive.
deal. I'm not a DiVincenzo guy. I know
Yeah.
DiVincenzo flashed in the playoffs. I don't like DiVincenzo was on a championship team and he never saw the court, right? DiVincenzo had a great stretch there. I mean, do you think DiVincenzo is going to play like that, like he did in the playoffs? Do you think he's going to play like that again next year?
I don't. Well, based on their type of team, like, because I think what did he average, like 17 or something like that?
Did he average that?
I don't even know if it was that much, But I'm not sure if but he does play D, and then what's his name played over his head. This is the best the other Villanova guy ever played, right?
Hart or
Hart, yeah, Hart.
yeah.
I'm saying, like, if Hart would have played like this since he's been in the league, it's not like he went to every team and played like this. This is the best where he's allowed to play like that because of who the coach is. Like, where it's like, I value his rebounding and his defense and his occasional threes more than other, because other teams he couldn't get on the court because he couldn't score. Right? So I'm not sure.
I wanted to address DiVincenzo did average 15.5 points a game on super efficient scoring.
Yeah.
He did. I've never been a fan. Like, he's a shooter who does. This year he shot the ball well. If you go historically, he's not a great shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I am disrespecting DiVincenzo a little bit. I just see a marginal role player, and that's what he's been up until this past year.
Well, but remember, when he was on Milwaukee, he was very young, right?
I'll look it up right. When he was on the championship team, he was 24.
Yeah. So, and he had someone in front of him, right? So, I mean, you had Middleton and then someone else, right?
I'm trying to remember that team.
He might have had the Grayson Allen or someone like that, right?
Drew Holiday was at the point. Middleton, yeah. Giannis. I'm trying to remember who played on that team. It's Pat Connaughton. I think Connaughton played over him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who was on that team. This is a few years ago.
So I definitely feel like out of those guys, they play that way because of who their coach is, and their coach gives them confidence, and then that's why. Like, I'm not sure if they could be that productive on other teams. So it is their chemistry, and it is Tibbs' way of coaching that, okay, I'm going to play because that makes you relax when you're not coming out because you're not an efficient scorer or something.
I want to look this up real quick because now
yeah.
who started on that Milwaukee team? Who was ahead of him? Hang on one second.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up now. So they went big here. They started Drew Holiday at the 1, Middleton at the 2, Giannis at the 3, Tucker at the 4, and Lopez at the 5. So
it's Middleton, right?
Yeah, Middleton was starting at the 2, and then off the bench they used Connaughton, Portis, and then Bryn Forbes. But saying Bryn Forbes is cracking your rotation, and I'm not trying to and DiVincenzo isn't like to me.
Yeah,
that's
but back then I still thought DiVincenzo was better than him, so it might have been a Coach Bud thing. So who knows? Because Bryn Forbes is, and see that because remember, Coach Bud, he had some questionable lineups when Atlanta started winning. Remember, he would. And that's why I always go off on BK Hoops when he's talking about, when he's trashing Dennis, because I'm like, he's a lot better than you think he is. It's just that, he was playing behind, the Wake Forest guy, right?
Yeah, Schroeder is a legitimate scoring point guard. He is. Like, you might not like his defense. You might not think he's the best playmaker in the world. Like, he's not a pure point. Schroeder's a good player. He's a pro, right? Like, any team would find a roster spot for Dennis Schroeder.
I think what happened was two things happened. He went to the Lakers, and it's hard if you're a guy that's an on-ball guy. It's hard to play. It's hard to play with LeBron. You know, it's hard to play with
Yeah.
him.
D'Angelo Russell's having that problem now, where
Yeah,
like D'Angelo
exactly.
Russell's now playing off the ball in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and it's like that's not really what he does.
And it's like you're just asking a guy to be a spot up shooter, and it's like that's not really their game. They feel cold. They can't really get any real run that way. So it makes them look bad. And then the other thing with Schroeder was turning down that money, and so now everybody ragged him on that. You know, so it's like he probably just thinks he's just not intelligent from that. You know, from turning down the money.
Turning down that contract though, that was. Because, like, no matter what you think of Schroeder, if you think he's a pretty good pro, like we do, or if you think he's a marginal kind of guy like BK does, he's like that was a lot of money. No matter what you think of him,
Yeah,
that was a lot of money that he turned down. Yeah.
But that was money from the Lakers, right?
Yeah, it was the Lakers.
But you know what? Maybe that was the deal, that he knew that I don't want to just be unhappy. You know what I mean? I don't want to just be a spot up shooter and then I get all this money, so maybe that wasn't foremost on his mind, you know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
So it could be that. But yeah, but it definitely made everyone say, "Oh, you dummy," like that's basically what they said. So, but for him, so that's what I'm saying. For Schroeder, he's not really that bad, I mean, he definitely used to kill us, right?
For
With
sure.
those floaters and the mid ranges, he used to kill us, But I mean, so but getting back to your point about Ingram, yeah, I think that he might be a test case, to see, because who's gonna pay him that type of money just to be like a 22, 24 point scorer.
Somebody will. The Washington Wizards probably, right? Which is not, which is yeah. Is a good team going to do right? If a good team does it, then that's indicative. If only.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I can understand, and so maybe that's your point, that the Nets should sign him because like okay, if we made that trade, see, but this is the problem with it. If we made that trade, because even if I didn't believe what Nate said, and you said, okay, well, let's trade them, right? And then let's, we'll have him, but let's only sign him for the 2 years, right? We only sign him for the 2 years. And he doesn't help us win that much, so we're still in the lottery. The question that I had for you when Nate was on was, suppose he's not 15 wins better, suppose he's only like 8,
7 or 8, yeah.
10, yeah. And now what I'm saying to you, Gary, and this is what I was going off with. I'm sorry for so many tweets or whatever, but I was going off because I was thinking I really wanted to know what your mind frame was, because I'm thinking, Gary, do you really want, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the 7th seed? Are you looking for the 8th seed? Are you looking for just like the 6th seed? Because, okay, even if this guy doesn't help us win, like if we go from 19 with Brandon Ingram to 25 or 28 or 30, right? 30, that could cost us from being in the top 3 to being like number
6 or
10.
7.
Yeah, or even in 10. And
But
it's
you're
like
not.
we
Yeah.
can't afford to be that low in this freaking Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. We can't afford to be that low. I mean, if it happens because of the ping pong, we'll live with it. But we can't afford to not do everything in our power over these next 2 years to be one of the worst teams for 2 years,
Are you certain that Cooper Flag is an all-star caliber player? Because I know Ingram is. Are
I
you
am not.
certain?
I am
That's
not.
what I'm saying. Like,
No, but I'm saying I don't give an F about Cooper himself, but I'm saying I do believe when they say, "Oh, this is generational," that it may be Ace Bailey or it may be Dylan Harper or it might be someone else. But so I do feel like what we need, like, see, you said when you became a Nets fan, and this is what I'm saying.
Kenny
We
Anderson
need
drafted number
we
2
need that
overall. Yeah.
we need that Derek Coleman. We need that Derek Coleman draft, and then right after that, we need that Kenny Anderson draft. That's what I'm saying. That's what we need.
I've been a Nets fan, and the hard rebuild is just something that we haven't done. Like, we started doing it with Marks and Kenny Atkinson, and then we got KD and Kyrie, and then blew the whole thing up for James Harden.
But
Right?
that was but see, that was unique because we didn't have any picks. We didn't have any picks. So like Marks does, you do have to take your hat off to him for for changing the culture with Kenny and doing that where everyone is playing hard and everything. But what I'm saying is now all of that is over. We have our own 2 picks. It's like, so it's basically, it's not a shoe-in deal like it was like Derek Coleman and we got the number 1 pick, or like Kenny Anderson and we got the number 2 pick. But that's the kind of talent that we need. We need back-to-back, top 3 to 5 talent. That's what we need. And then after that, because our money is so low, even because our money is so low, Clowney will still be making really low money on his rookie deal. That then we can explore, well, who can we afford to pay to bring in to help these guys? But I don't like that plan where both you and Jonathan keep saying, well, let's just get the one guy this draft, then sign one of these guys like the ancient Butler, or even the prime age of Brandon Ingram, and then we'll be better, but then we're going to be middle of the pack. We'll never get to that point where we have 2 guys that everybody wants, and that's what we need. We need 2 guys that everybody wants. And you want to see the trouble with it, because what's the name drafted really well, didn't they? Pelicans, like, I mean, well, they got Zion
always, yeah.
but then like the Herb Jones was a steal, Alvarado was a steal. But what I'm saying is, that's the problem. Is part of their problem was that they really didn't tank long enough. Like, they got the Brandon Ingram, like you said. So virtually, if it wasn't for Zion getting injured, maybe because I would tend to say, if we draft 2 guys back to back. Oh no, let's say we do your deal. We draft whoever, Ace Bailey or whoever, right? And we have the 1 guy, and then we trade those 3 guys you said for Brandon Ingram, right? Are we more talented than the team that New Orleans had when they had Ingram, Zion, Vucevic?
The problem is, like, I thought if they could get that team on the court, CJ, Zion, Ingram, Valanciunas, Herb, if they could get all those guys, that was a championship caliber team. Now, do they win a championship? I don't know. It's really hard. But they're in
but talent-wise, they were.
Yeah,
yes.
They're there. They just couldn't get them on the court, like, together.
And so my contention to you is, I agree with that, but my contention with you is that if we don't get that 2026 diamond,
right,
we're not as good as that team talent-wise, and that's why we need.
But you have the cap space to go sign De'Aaron Fox at that point.
No, but I'm saying, but once we start talking about cap space, then we're talking about our future, that it starts shrinking our window, even though these guys are young.
You're right about that. That's you want to hit on the rookie. You want to hit on the draft pick.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's what I'm saying too. That's what I'm saying. And this is what I don't believe, that Nets fans. I mean, you say you're a Nets fan for 30 years, and I'm longer than that. But it's like, we can't tank for 2 years, and we've already been we've already been dirt for 2 years. So like, let's just get 2 more years in of
But there's
getting.
more. Look,
No,
you can do it.
you live on the fact that Dylan Harper might be on the all rookie team. You live on the fact that the next year you might get DeBonsta, and then it's like, hey, now you got guys that everyone else wants. Just like with KD, because OKC, didn't they get KD and Russ? Weren't they close to each other? I mean, they
Yeah,
weren't
but
in the
I
same
don't.
draft.
Was Russ that high of a pick? Russ wasn't picked in the
Yes,
top.
Russ was. I think you look it up. He was a
I'm gonna
top.
look it up.
He was a top 4 pick, I think.
Was he that high? I thought he was like 8 or
Yes.
something. Let me look it up.
And then you also have to look
Yeah, he
at
was picked fourth. You're right. He was picked fourth.
And then Harden was like a top 4 pick.
He's four. Yeah, Harden was picked.
Now I don't know and see what I'm saying is, sure, they might have been the picks of other teams or whatever, which is harder to show, right? But what I'm saying
Harden
is,
was picked third.
okay, so you see, but that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's the kind of, and we didn't even mention Ibaka, right? So that's what I'm saying. You need that kind of, because that's what everyone says, man. They should have kept that team together, not broken it up, and eventually they would have broke through and won, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of things that we need. We need a KD Westbrook. That's what we need, and see, and that's what I'm saying. All of these teams, I guess, people keep looking at it as, well, it wasn't their own picks or whatever, but they still had the picks, like the Lakers, right? Like the Celtics with Brown. Brown was our pick, right? Like eventually, I think.
Well, yeah, that pick came from us. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, but the fact that they had him and Tatum back to back, that's what we need. We need, and I'm saying, we're in control of our own destiny. We could just suck for 2 years and get a top 5 pick each year. And that's what we need. And then
you still need the balls to bounce your way, right? You
yeah,
still
I
need
know, definitely.
and
But I'm
there are
saying
going to be
it's worth the gamble. That's what I'm trying to say.
there are going to be other teams tanking, like especially in the East. You're going to have other
Yeah.
teams, the Bulls, the Pistons. Well, the Pistons are tanking by accident, right? I mean, they can't help it.
Yeah.
The Wizards. There are some bad teams in the East who are going to tank. If you could guarantee me, like I'm not against what you're saying. A 2-year rebuild, suck this year, suck next year. I'm not against it.
Mm-hmm.
If we get Ace Bailey this year, and only Ace Bailey, because he's the one guy I look at and I say that guy changes your franchise.
Okay.
Then I would be okay with tanking again. If you get Cooper Flagg, I don't know that he's one of those two guys. Like, he's a good player.
Okay.
Right? But like, do I just have a good player? Is this is
but what
this
about
a franchise?
But doesn't what's the name make you have to tank all over again if you get Dylan Harper? Even though he might be our point guard for the next 10
Harper's
years.
An interesting one. I like Dylan Harper a lot.
I like him a lot too. But if you get him, I still don't want to win yet. I just want him to progress.
All right.
And you know what it was? I checked. Remember, I went and checked all of these different teams who still lost the next year. I went and checked all those teams that still lost the next year. Like, they drafted this guy, and then they missed it. Like Zion, they missed the playoffs. Almost every top player, Wemby, all of these guys, almost
Luka,
almost all the top guys that we think of, and I don't mean just number ones, but just the top guys in their class. Almost, I'd say, like 8 out of 10 of them, when they played their rookie year, they still ended up in the lottery again. I mean, at least they didn't end up in the playoffs. So that's what I'm saying. So if we get Dylan or we get Ace, we're not trying to win right away. We're trying to end right back in the lottery so that we can get that other guy like DeBonsta or whoever, and then that way we have, because remember, we'll have those two, plus we'll have Clowney, plus we'll still have either Claxton to trade for more, and then here's the kicker: in 27 we still have those picks, right? So
Yeah,
we
we
can
got a bunch of picks
now
for
we could
27
we could
also.
trade that stuff if it's gonna be, well, that's gonna be the difference, you know. But I'm saying you need those 2 years, because I'm not saying let's tank again in 27. I'm saying let's tank 2 years in a row. These are supposed to be the two strongest drafts, and then after we do that, then we have so much draft capital still left over. Because even like I was like with you, let's take some of these later picks, the like our third and fourth first this year, and let's trade them to a team that just either is salary capped and will give us will give us another 26 next season or something. Let's do that so that we have more balls
In
in
the
the
ball
lottery,
spinning lottery machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying, but we
Let me
got to
ask you this
play it
question.
smart.
Let me ask you this question. If we didn't have to trade for Ingram, if we could just sign him next offseason, just sign him to a big deal, would you still be against that?
I'd be against it if
So you would
if
still
there was
tank
a
this
team.
year?
Let's say this. I would do it if it was a team option from the third year on.
Yeah, he ain't gonna take that. He wants the money because then he'll
That's
be
what I'm
moving into his
saying. I
30s.
can't.
He's gonna want the money
Yeah,
guaranteed.
see,
Yeah.
because listen, he might, because look what might happen. We're tanking. He's playing, right? He's averaging 25, right? We're tanking for those 2 years, and we get the first guy, then we get the second guy, but now we figure out, you know what? Ingram's not really the guy that we want, but we want to use him to trade him. Now, everyone else is going to be like, I don't want this guy who's been averaging 25 and now he's making over 50 million for the next 2 years. We don't want him on our team. You know what I'm saying?
Nate likes what you're saying in the chat. Nate and you
Yeah,
guys
I know
are
we were
making a
agreeing.
very
Nate and I
similar
were.
argument.
I was
Yeah.
agreeing with everything he was saying, but that's what I'm saying. You know what it is. This is your affinity guy. This is your
Yeah, it's exactly what he is. He's that girl who you know is no good for you, but she looks so good. Like your boys are like, no, just
John.
stay away from her. Just stay away from her. She's not. I mean, I can't help myself. Like this is the guy.
Yeah, like BK's Ben Simmons, like
Yeah.
Jonathan's Cooper Flag, right? This is that guy. So I get it, but that's what I'm saying. You just can't give him. You can't give him. Because then he's going to be untradeable. Then you're
You're
going to
right.
end up having to trade picks. You're going to have to be ending up giving up some of your picks to get rid of him if you so desire. Then and then also you're talking about, suppose you do get a Bailey, maybe that makes Brandon Ingram obsolete. Like they play the same position. They play the same position, so now it's harder to trade a guy who's making 50 million.
You're right.
That's
Cam
what I'm looking
Thomas,
at.
AJ, and Ace. I can only dream. Look,
And I'm like you. I'm not high on Cam Thomas. I'm like you. I'm not high on
it's not
Cam
that I'm
Thomas.
not high on Cam Thomas, and that's why I want to have B Cam, because I want to, like, my realistic expectation is that Cam Thomas can be Jamal Crawford, or like, I think that's a pretty good player, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I have a Cam Thomas jersey. I like Cam. I just think, like, I'm realistic. I'm reasonable on him, right? Like Lou Williams. If he turns out to be Lou Williams, that's a good player.
Yeah. But Lou
like,
Williams, the thing that made Lou Williams so good was he accepted that role.
Cam's got to accept that role. But I feel like some people think, Cam Thomas, like Harlem on BK show, like thinks he's gonna turn into like Dwayne Wade or something. Like, guy, relax.
Why didn't Lou Williams start anywhere? Because of his defense, right?
Yeah, because of his defense, and he's not a playmaker, right? He's not really a distributor. He's just a
he's
scorer.
Too short to be. He's short, and his defense, so it's not like you could play him at the point, right?
Yeah, he's not a point, and he's too small for it too. And like that's my point.
And then isn't that the same thing with Jordan Clarkson too? I mean, he's not
Jordan
as short.
Clarkson, look, Jordan Clarkson's a good player, right? But he's got limitations, and that was Jordan Clarkson. Like, I think Cam Thomas can be Jordan Clarkson or better.
That's what I think too.
Yeah,
that's what I think too.
That's the kind of player that he is, and
I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared of. I got to see him more when he plays at Baylor.
Edgecombe.
Yeah, because I'm kind of scared that he might turn into, like he might just rely too much on his athleticism
and be the next Isaiah Rider. Yeah,
yeah. Or Isaiah Rider was actually good, but I was thinking
he was supposed to be Jordan Jr. Like he was supposed to be
Oladipo.
Oladipo. Yeah, Oladipo was a quality player though for a couple of years. Wasn't he?
Yeah, but once he
got injured, yeah,
it's like once his athleticism left him, it's like, okay, what do you got now? So
all right, I gotta wrap this up.
All right,
I appreciate
you going on, man. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time there's some breaking news, I'd love to have you back on.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, and I appreciate all you guys that weighed in.
All right.
Thank you.
Shout out to that shot. Thank y'all.
All right. All right. Peace.
Peace.